Candace Owens is getting criticized by quite a few figures on conservative Twitter for making this statement today about the DeSantis campaign. Now, you guys know I'm a big Trump guy, but I try to be fair as much as possible. But we're going to read her statement here. And I have to say, love me or hate me, love her or hate her. I don't see how you can say that this assessment on the Trump DeSantis stuff is inaccurate, okay? So here's what she went out there and said. She said, sorry to say it, but the DeSantis campaign was dead on arrival, and it's time to admit it. Tons of mistakes. Needed to be more upfront about his intention to run. Doesn't come across as honest, and he's boring. You can say it shouldn't matter, but it does. All right, so let's break this down piece by piece. Needed to be more upfront about his intention to run. True. Very true, because I think the whole honeymoon period or the limbo period for the first half of this year, where he swore he wasn't going to run, but it was very obvious he was going to, it just wasn't great, right? What was he supposed to do, Vince? I don't know. I'm just saying, you saw how much his poll numbers tanked, and so the DeSantis people can say no, but I'm just objectively analyzing the situation. During that period where he was unclear about who was going to run, look at his poll numbers. They slipped. And now he's struggling to recover them, okay? Doesn't come across as honest, and he's boring. You can say it shouldn't matter, but it does. Again, true, right? If you're trying to primary Donald Trump, you need to at least match his level of energy, match his level of charisma. And it is true, right? And some people say it's a strength of DeSantis, but I don't see how he's supposed to overcome Trump either if has this personality, right? Well, basically his wife is more charismatic than he is, That's his problem. And honestly, now that I kind of think about it, I feel like if the anti-Trump crowd truly wanted someone to take down Trump and actually manage to win the Republican primary, I think Glenn Youngkin may have much better shot of that than DeSantis. But obviously, both people in the race, they just split the votes. Just a thought. You can say it shouldn't matter, but it does. Of course it matters. Charisma and energy do actually matter. They may not matter to you. I care about the policy. But first of all, it does make a difference in elections. You can tell me it doesn't. It absolutely does. Especially with the modern system of elections where we have mass mail-in voting. Democrats have mastered the art of turnout. If you do not have someone who inspires the base, you're just not going to get turnout, right? You need to turn out your base. If DeSantis has this level of energy, is he going to be able to do that? I don't know. It's an open question, but we continue on here. He also needed someone more like Kayleigh McEnany rather than petty Christina Pushaw running comms. I mean, I'm not here to start problems with Christina. I mean, I have no issue with her. But I think that's a fair take there. Okay, and then she goes on to say, the influencers that are still cheerleading for him are those that recently moved to his state and want to reap the benefits for standing firm beside him through his inevitable loss. I'm not knocking the influencer hustle, just calling it as I see it. They know he can't win either. To that, I honestly say, I don't know. I may disagree with that one. I feel like some of these obviously paid DeSantis influencers have deluded themselves to pretty serious degrees. I have to say, I don't honestly know about that, but I understand what she's saying there. Okay, I understand it. And then lastly, she says, also, their weird takeover of the community notes gives people a fact checker vibe. If you don't know what that is, the DeSantis team basically has had a big role currently in the Twitter community notes thing, the fact checking organization on Twitter. They've basically taken it over at this point, which, I mean, it's true, right? It does kind of give a fact checker type of vibe. I don't know if it's the best look, whatever. That's not super important to me, but yeah, she goes on to say, sometimes the notes they add don't actually debunk anything, getting very Snopes-like. And so that's what she says here, okay? Now, I know every time you attack the DeSantis campaign, even if you do it from an analytical perspective, which that's usually what I've been doing because I've been trying to just cover the primary, still the DeSantis crowd gets mad. Still they refuse to listen to anything. La. Okay, well, when you lose the primary because you didn't listen to anyone who was criticizing you, we will understand why that happened. But let's kind of break down these arguments, right? I don't see how anyone can disagree with this, because if you want to talk about his energy, you want to talk about just his ability to grab attention. Does anyone really know that he's running for president right now? Let me ask that. Let me frame the question in that way. Do you know that he's running? Do you remember on a daily basis, because of news headlines or things you see him saying or things you hear about him doing? Does anyone truly pay attention currently, right, to the fact that Ron DeSantis is running for president. They just don't. Let's be real. They just don't. I can't tell you what Ron DeSantis did in the past 2 weeks. I'm sure he's been doing plenty of campaign events up in Iowa and New Hampshire and all that, but he does not do or say anything that grabs attention and attracts attention. He's just not doing it. Nothing he has done in this campaign so far has been particularly memorable or eye-catching, besides the fact that he just tried to announce his campaign on Twitter, and as we kind of know, that was a laughably historic failure because it was a mess, right? So it was memorable. I do remember that, but I remember that in a bad way. Other than that, I really can't name you a single thing that has happened in the DeSantis campaign so far because, again, he does not draw any attention to himself. Of course, I know the argument, Vince, that's what we like about DeSantis. We like that he doesn't draw attention to himself. Okay, I mean, I understand that. I understand why people support Ron DeSantis. However, drawing your attention to yourself is the name of the game, guys. Okay? So you guys claim, oh, Trump people don't understand electoral politics and your candidate is not electable. No, you don't understand politics, because if you did, you would know that actually, drawing attention to yourself in many ways is something that is important. It does matter. You do need to draw attention to yourself. And especially when you're in the position of Ron DeSantis. Look at the polls. What is it right now? 57-19. When you are down around 30 points to Donald Trump, okay, like 30 plus points down. You cannot run a campaign of simply ignoring Donald Trump and doing what he's doing, because that's what he's doing right now. Very quiet campaign. Listen, I'm just going to run on my record and that's it. And that's all I'm going to do here. Okay, if you were in Donald Trump's shoes, that might work. You're the front runner, just ignore everyone else. Just say, look, this is me, that's it. But that doesn't work, Ron and Ron people who defend him even when he's campaigning very poorly, objectively. That doesn't work when you're 30 points down. When you're 30 points down, you have to go on offense. You have to swing up to the big guy, big orange guy in the front. You have to do something. You have to create some degree of waves. He's not doing any of that. And I don't particularly understand why. Although there's an argument to be made. Maybe he genuinely doesn't have the charisma to even do it. I don't know. Who knows? But this whole idea that he's just going to be able to ignore Trump to victory, how is that supposed to work? Maybe it would have worked in the beginning of this year when it felt like, the Trump campaign had some vulnerabilities. Hey, they might find a soft spot here. It's not. You're 30 points down. Every single poll is showing you losing. The polls in the swing states, the polls nationally, everywhere you're losing. How is this supposed to work, Ron DeSantis? And let me ask that to the Ron DeSantis people who get so mad every time I criticize the guy and criticize the campaign methods. Okay, you tell me, because all I'm doing here is analyzing. That's really all I'm doing. You guys know I support Trump, but I criticize Trump when I disagree with his strategies too. I'm an analyst. I'm a commentator. I'm not a paid influencer for either campaign here, right? So please explain to me how Ron DeSantis, and I mean this in good faith, please give me the answer here, how Ron DeSantis plans to make up a 30-point-something lead by doing what he's doing right now. Because nobody even knows that he's running for president. In fact, I bet you if you went to just rural America in a random place, let's say rural Texas, rural, Michigan, Ohio, something like that, just knocked on random doors. How many people would even be aware right now or actively consciously remember that Ron DeSantis is running for president? Whereas with Trump, part of it's because of the indictment and all this, but I see the headlines, right? I notice he's running for president. Whether it's controversial or not, at least he is grabbing attention. Ron DeSantis is not grabbing any attention. He just thinks he's gonna sneak his way to overcoming a 30-point deficit. The strategy there doesn't make any sense, okay? So I think Candace Owens' breakdown there is completely accurate. It's completely right. And, you had so many people today calling her shill, grifter, sellout. I don't see any of that. I see someone in this tweet right here who, a commentator, much like myself, is breaking down from her. Obviously, we all have an opinion. Okay, so I'm not saying it's the objective truth, but we are looking at it in an objective sense, in the sense of we're just trying to see what do we actually think, biases aside. All I see here is a commentator who is giving her honest opinion on how she feels and doing it from an analytical perspective. She is bringing up genuine criticisms of the things that she says. And yet if you scroll down here and look at the comments, it's basically just a bunch of people, but actually it's mostly support in many cases probably, but all the DeSantis influencers are just going out and questioning her honesty, right? They're saying, she's paid off or she's shilling or whatever it is. So, with all the talk of Donald Trump running a cult and, Trump supporters not ever being willing to listen to criticism, I think in many ways, I think it's the opposite of that. Not that there's not a Trump cult. Of course there is, right? Well, you've been on, you know what I'm talking about. But I see very often from the DeSantis crowd, you criticize them at all. Look how defensive they are. You even just come along and say, I'm basically giving you free advice, okay? And I support Trump, and what I'm doing right now is basically giving the DeSantis campaign free advice. If you want to overcome the lead, right, you have to garner attention. You have to go after Trump, right? I'm actually giving you guys free advice. And what do? Candace Owens doing the same thing. What do you guys do? You attack us for it. You ridicule us for it. La, plugged ears. Okay, well, have fun losing the primary. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay? Because it is true. This campaign has been dead on arrival. It's garnering no waves. It's making no attention. And unless either A, Trump makes a serious blunder, or he goes to jail, which is probably what they're hoping for. Let's be real. I think that's what DeSantis people are hoping for at this point. They just want, Trump will get, convicted, and then DeSantis will be in the nominee. Like, is that what I don't know. It seems to be it. But barring some astronomically significant event, there's no chance. She's right. It is dead on arrival. There's no chance. Okay? There isn't. And frankly, now you're starting to see a lot of his vulnerabilities get exposed. I don't know what to tell you. I like the governor. He is my governor. I like his policies. I like the stuff that he's done. I particularly like the statewide movement he has started. I think that's very important. I like the precedent he set, right, of conservative states standing up to the federal government, doing their own thing, being big with power, right? Using power effectively for conservative ends. I praise him all the time for that. But objectively speaking, he's been running a very poor presidential campaign. Laughably poor. And if you can't see that, then like I said, have fun losing. Hey guys, Vince Dow here. Hope you enjoyed that clip from the Vince Dow Show. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. And be sure to check out the Vince Dow Show live every weeknight here on this channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It is a great show. Many are saying this. So leave a like, check out our other clips, and be sure to check out the show. Yeah. God bless.